Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. Empower Africa. This is our second episode, our second edition. It's exciting to be here. And we know that, you guys have been looking forward to us coming back to you. And we're not going to disappoint you guys. We're still working on things to make sure that we try to organize ourselves to where we can come maybe twice a week, as difficult as it is with our schedules and everything else. But we're grateful, we're excited to be here. It's a beautiful thing, and that is why today we're going to talk about Africans not knowing their rights. That is the topic we want to talk about.
Africa not knowing their rights.
Because if you're going to empower people, the whole thing about empowerment is about education.
Yes.
Because when you educate your people, you liberate them, and that's all about liberation. So, we know that today we were like, what are we going to talk about? There's a lot of issues to talk about, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of issues.
But we said, let us start this second edition with talking about the rights of Africans and Africans not knowing their rights, and which is why we have the kind of Africa that we have today. So I don't know if Dr. Roland wants to come in real quick before we take this flight on, at least to educate our people about
from a policy perspective or from a governance perspective, like even in this nation, like America, in 1776, they made the Declaration of Rights. So that was the first document when they did the Declaration of Rights.
Yeah.
Because you cannot have a government without the people knowing their right. And even in Africa, when we break from the colonial masters, the first thing that they did was to declare some sort of right. But I don't know if those rights were legitimate or they were crooked, or they were objective, or they were made by people that have the intellectual capacity to do those rights. Because if when the colonial masters left, in the 60s, how many people, had Western education? So most of those things, were written, based on, Western education. We don't know if it was written based on propaganda or it was written on something that could protect the interests of the people. But that is the fundamental about right.
Absolutely.
To protect the interests, of the people.
Yeah, so first of all, to all our followers out there, Facebook, YouTube, especially on YouTube, make sure you go and subscribe to the channel. It is very important. Look up Empower Africa today on YouTube, and of course, Ibrahim's Take on Africa. For you guys that are on YouTube that follow me, that's my personal page, but we have Empower Africa Today page. Go subscribe, like, and comment. Share these videos. The more you share, the more people get the word out there, and it's better for all of us. So now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, what we want to do is, talking about Africans not knowing their rights, we want to break this into, the democratic rights of our citizens and that of the civil rights of the people. Because we've seen that, again, like I said, Dr. Roland is from Cameroon.
Yes.
If we say we want to go into the Cameroonian politics, that's a whole different thing, right?
That's a whole different thing.
38 years of President Paul Biya. That's a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah.
But again, that is why we're here talking about what we're talking about. Africans knowing their rights. If only we know our rights, some of those incidences of what has happened in Africa should not happen. So individual case-to-case basis, like if you take, say, Sierra Leone, where I'm from, and you go to Nigeria, you go to Mali, you go to Ghana, you go to, all these countries. The problem is, a lot of times, people just don't know their rights. Only few percentage of the population really know the rights. Even when you talk about the constitution of these countries. Because the constitution is what binds us. It's the Bible.
Yes, it's the Bible. It's the thing that, it's, the model operanda. We say the model operanda. That is what, is enshrined. We call it enshrined because it's something like a shrine that the people go there for blessings.
Absolutely.
The constitution.
Right.
It becomes a Bible, of every nation.
Right.
That all of us have accepted that, we have to live by that constitution. But unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't know our rights. A lot of Africans, and I don't blame them too much because sometimes, they don't give them the opportunity to know their right. So that's why we have programs like these.
Yes.
Because education, is the fundamental aspects of power.
Right.
That is where, because education drives you where you cannot drive.
Absolutely.
Education makes you see beyond what you can see, within your environment. So that's why we are coming, on this platform, to share those ideas, that can empower you, to move a little bit forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I was saying, buttressing what Dr. Roland just said, when you talk about like the democratic rights and the civil rights of our people, now we're talking about, freedom of speech as an example. And this is something we know a lot of African leaders, they do all they could to suppress the voices of their people because they don't want to hear those voices of dissent. And unfortunately, the freedom of speech, like my constitution in Sierra Leone, section 25, subsection 1, clearly states that, you have the protections to your freedoms of expression in the media. So the constitution, again, gives you that. And this is why we want to, because, Dr. Roland, well, now we're using social media, right?
Absolutely.
How many people in Africa really have access to YouTube and, Facebook and this and that? Because now we don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
If you call somebody today using, calling them back home, and even WhatsApp, as easy as it is, the network is so terrible, you might not even be able to get to these people.
Yes.
So that is the problem that we have. We know a lot of times, in as much as it's only a few percentage of the population that actually knows their rights, but then exercising their rights is another thing.
Yeah, it's another thing.
Because these leaders don't allow the people to, because when people do, now you're getting chased after the police, they lock you up, they seize your freedom, you're afraid for your life, your family is afraid for their lives. And that is what we have. Because even like what I'm doing or what Dr. Roland might be doing, when we get deep into this thing, talking about the rights of the people, leaders I don't even want to call them leaders. It's just that they're in position of authority right now.
Yes.
Because real leaders, because real leaders want to listen to their people.
Absolutely.
Real leaders want to hear the cry of the people.
Absolutely.
Because that is how you fix a nation.
That's hard.
So if we want to compare, say, where we live in America today, we're doing this because we have the liberties.
Yeah, we have the liberties. We have the right. You can do this in Africa. In most places in Africa, I'm not going to say all places in Africa because, we have some progressive countries in Africa. Look at what Ghana is doing.
Yeah.
And that is a model. That is a model for Africa. But when I look at what happened in Nigeria and in Cameroon over the weekend, I was studying. Based on my experience, of my extensive experience that I've had and understanding processes and rule of engagement. And understand what public service mean. What public service mean. I mean, when you are a public servant, if you understand what public service mean, nobody will force you, to violate the right of anybody.
Absolutely.
Because anytime you violate the right of anybody, you don't even know your own right.
Yes.
That's the fundamental aspect. So, because we are not only talking to help the grassroots people, we are talking to help those in power, those in places of authority. Because sometimes, especially in Africa, I was watching this guy show, the guy in Nigeria, what do they call him? The guy that does the funny show.
Which one?
No,
a lot of them.
No, this other guy, that Angel. I was watching Angel.
Okay.
He went out one time. He met a guy, was asking, do you have anybody in law enforcement? The guy said, no. Do you have anybody that's a gendarme? The guy said, no. Do you have anybody that they punch the guy? Because he knows that those people, are terrorists. Those people are terrorists. They have made themselves to be that because it benefits them. They use that to earn a living. But when you use that to earn a living in the future, in the present, how is it going to help you in the future?
Absolutely.
Because that you are earning a fictitious living. You are not living a fulfilled life. When you do those things.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to focus on that civil right and that democratic aspect, the democratic right and the civil right. And the civil right is a very important aspect when it comes to Africa.
Yes, because the civil rights of Africans, of course, that's, you talk about now the freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
You talk about the rights to protest.
Yes.
Those two is what really embellishes when it comes to the civil rights of the people. And, even though we are saying Africans not knowing their rights, I want you guys to understand, like I said, a major part of the population, I would say maybe 20-30% would really know their rights. But when you go to like in country, in the villages, in the small towns, these people don't really even care about, what's going on in the big cities and all of that. They just want to survive. They just want to live their life. So when you come to them and tell them about their rights to protest, their right to free speech, they're like, what are you talking about? So we talk about education there. Because we know in Africa, there are few African countries, like you take Zimbabwe, where Robert Mugabe actually made it a point of duty for their people to, get educated. But again, you become educated, you have nothing to do. After the education, there's no job and there's no employment. So there was
especially a lot of African education end at the theoretical level. There's no practical aspects.
Absolutely.
To get the people out of poverty.
Yeah.
So sometimes the people look, why am I going to get an education when it's not going to get me, out of poverty? Because they don't bring people into the table. They don't bring people to define their future.
Right.
They bring people that you want to feed them. Because nobody is entitled entitled to state resources. You don't feed people, you give them what they deserve. But sometimes politicians, they say, we want to feed you. You don't feed anybody.
No.
You just share the national cake. You create opportunity for people.
And that is what it is. It's creating the opportunities. Because government is not going to be able to do everything.
No, government is
But if you create an amicable opportunity where, to like Rwanda, what the Rwandan president did was to encourage diasporans to come back home and invest. But some African countries, they don't even want the diaspora to go back because all of a sudden they see you as a threat. So say the diaspora comes back home, these guys are going to take power from us. They think they're better than us. They don't see us as an opportunity. No, when it comes to the money that we send, yes, that's very important. But again, we don't want to digress because the point of this message today is about Africans knowing their rights.
Yes.
And the very essence of why, like we were saying earlier, we're in overseas today. We're in America, we're in Europe, somewhere. You're enjoying the liberties. Nobody can take advantage of you. If you have a problem with somebody, you can go to court. You can call the police.
And you can do all those things.
You can do all of those things.
Yeah, all those 9 yards and even the police. I used to be a cop.
Right.
I was a cop in the national capital. I spent some years in the street, and I went to the police academy. Leaving the academy, I learned a lot. I said, I did one of the best jobs that anybody could do, because I understood what right was. I understood what it meant to uphold the right of people. I understood what my right was, within the framework, of my local environment. So those are the things that we want to start pushing, because sometimes when you have a movement, people think that, well, you are only talking to God, but we're talking to leaders. Because when there's right, there is freedom on both sides. Because the leaders today are in chain. Because when they say they are keeping for their generations, you are setting these people up.
Absolutely.
You are saying that, okay, I'm building these houses for them. I'm creating this platform. I'm training them so that when I leave. No, you are only setting them up. You are only setting them up
for trouble.
You are setting them up for trouble. Because when you get somebody in position that understand right and that understand what justice is always going to be rendered.
Absolutely.
Justice is always going to be rendered.
Fact.
Because there are some certain type of justice that it's no limit. It's no limit. It's no limit for you to be tried.
Absolutely.
There's no limitation. There's no limitation. Especially the type of malicious act that you do. You take lives, and there's no limitation. And I hope that even in Africa, they have to make it that so that generations pay for the things that generations have done.
Absolutely.
So that you know that when you are doing this, you are putting a curse on your generation to come. You know that, okay, if I have 80 years to live, this thing that I'm doing might chase me, in the next 80 years, even after I'm gone.
Absolutely.
So that is the type of message that we want to push.
Right.
We are trying to push, for people to understand the broader aspect of the democratic process and civil right.
Yes. So again, for my folks out there, you're on YouTube, you're watching this, make sure you subscribe, like and share this video, okay? Share the video, like, subscribe, go to our YouTube channel, Ibrahim's Take on Africa, and the other channel, our main channel is Empower Africa Today.
Yes, like and share.
Subscribe on YouTube. We want 1,000 subscriptions before we get done with this show today. And by the way, just so you guys know, we've both been tested. We're coronavirus free, so we know that, so we're okay.
Absolutely,
we're talking to ourselves. We're fine with that. Everything is good. Okay, so guys, it's very important when we're talking about the rights. We'll take a country like Mali, for example.
Yes,
when the people said, you know what? Because the problem we have in Africa, sometimes even though we know our rights, it is this tribalism. People are so focused on their tribes and their region, so much to the point that when it comes to issues that have to do with national, agenda, people tend to, because my party is in power, okay, no, even though they're doing the wrong thing, then I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go against them. It is my party, it's my tribe, I'm going to die here, nothing, everything they do is right. For example, like what we have in Sierra Leone, I'm going to use that as a case in Sierra Leone. We have this constituency, it's a constituency 110. They held the elections for parliament, a year or so ago, almost over a year ago. What they did, the ruling government in power, went there with a whole minister, tossed the ballot box in the air after the people have voted, and they elected a member of parliament. Because there were international observers too that actually witnessed the results, and they said, okay, the member of the opposition has won that election. But the ruling government, a whole minister of transportation in Sierra Leone, actually went to that constituency with his thugs. The videos are there on Facebook and all these other places. Vandalized the ballot boxes. Why? Because they didn't win the election. So that is what we're talking about. When we say, okay, it is wrong because that is a violation of the democratic rights of the citizens. And the people should have stood up. These are the rights of the citizens. The citizens have a right to speak up, and the citizens have a right to free speech and protest. Free speech is enshrined in the Constitution of Sierra Leone, just like a protest is part of our constitutional rights. So, and the sad thing is, my brother, we have people in the diaspora that are living in these countries, Europe, America. They're enjoying the liberties, the freedoms, the rights that these countries have to offer them. They have their kids enjoying, living in good houses, having transportation to go to school. Minus coronavirus now. The bus picks them up in front of their houses. They go to school, they get lunch, they get breakfast. But yet, they talk about supporting some governments in Africa that are actually punishing our people. These are the people that we have a problem with in Africa because the diasporans, the one that you think that it's not even about education. The ones that have seen the light, right? They've seen the light. They've seen the reality. They know that this is what life should be. How can you support a government that is oppressing its people?
It's unfortunate, my brother. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for some of us, the way we perceive things. Education makes you to earn a living. A job makes you to earn a living. But, earning a living is just the beginning of life. It's just the beginning of life. Because you don't want to earn a living by saying, okay, I want to be wealthy. Because when you say you are wealthy, wealthy is a perception. It's a perception. Mm-hmm. And if you say you are wealthy, if you cannot be able, to see into others, you are not wealthy. Mm-mm. Because if you look at what they talk of a wealthy man,
selfish.
A wealthy man, they call you selfish. They don't call you wealthy. They don't call you, because a wealthy man is somebody that understands the concept of sharing. Mm-hmm. Whether you are sharing knowledge or you are sharing the idea of others, mm-hmm. To be empowered. Mm-hmm. Because, what is killing us, especially in Africa, is the way we look at authorities. Mm-hmm. The kings and the position of powers. Mm-hmm. We don't look at the world through of the way it is. Yeah. We don't look at what nature is, the freedom of nature. Mm-hmm. When you live you breathe equality. Yeah. You breathe fresh air. You meet people. How joyful it could be. You want to be protected. Or you see, like President Obama, when he went to Africa, he said, I did my 8 years. When it was time, you are happy to go.
Right.
Well, yeah, you're happy to go because you have served. Because you have given to the people. Because that is what public service is. But in Africa, from my experience, when people come to public service, they think that, okay, it is to come to plant seed for people of my tribe. Mm-hmm. It is to come to help people of my tribe. No. They call it the public service. Yeah. They don't call it a tribal service.
Absolutely.
They don't call it a service for my race. They call it a public service. But you go and redefine it. When you go and redefine it. And it's unfortunate because we are in the digital age. We are in the digital age that, nothing can really be hidden. Mm-hmm. Facts is well shared.
Absolutely.
Everybody, communities are growing. Mm-hmm. What we're talking today in 5 years, the world in 5 years is going to be radically different.
Absolutely.
That is why we're opening the eyes. Absolutely. Even some of the Africans that, are worried about the future, that are worried about the economy, or they're worried about movement and the rest. My brothers and sisters, in 5 years, the world is going to be different. The most important thing that you have to know is to use the environment and make wealth. Use the environment and develop social capital. Mm-hmm. Yes, my brother.
Absolutely. And this brings me to the point Dr. Roland has been making. Because again, I'm passionate about building water wells. Yes. There's a whole cola tree community where I built about 4 water wells in Sierra Leone. Dr. Roland has been helping kids with education back home, providing sponsorship for them and scholarships and all that kind of stuff. So these are the things we are focused on. And that is why we said we are building on our website to make sure that we're going to be encouraging membership too, because we want you all to belong and feel like you belong to our program. It's not just us, So in our website, the goal is for you, if you want to become a member, you can get on the website, but it has not been launched yet. We're still building the website to get to that point where you can register as a member and be a part of us. That way we can all join hands together and see how we can help the continent, right? But again, today we're we're talking about the rights of Africans and Africans not knowing their rights. Again, we know that at least 20 to 30% of the population know their rights in Africa. However, knowing your rights is one thing, but then the government's allowing you to use your rights is another thing. And then we have a bulk of the population, because of lack of education, these people don't even know about what we're talking about. When you talk about the Constitution, a lot of people, if you say Constitution, it's like, what are you talking about? You know, some people think the Constitution of their country, it's this marvelous magic book hidden in a shelf somewhere, when every citizen should be able to have a copy of the Constitution.
Absolutely.
To know exactly what their rights are, to know where the limits are, to know what their opportunities are when it comes to, you know, their Constitution and their rights, which the Constitution grants them. And that is why everything we do, when we oppose governments, we come out here, we speak about the wrongs that governments are doing. We talk about the corruption that is going on in Africa, the amount of money that we're losing, the opportunities that we're losing for our people. When we talk about the lack of health care for our folks, lack of proper and clean drinking water, lack of proper education for our kids. You know, these are all the things we're talking about. These are basic fundamental rights of our people. And if you, the people, don't demand and ask for those rights, you're not going to get them.
Yeah.
And that is why in America, even telling people to put on a face mask, Americans are, you know, for their own good. But they still have the rights to come out and protest and say, we don't want to wear this face mask. Can you imagine that in Africa? Look at the police brutality. When you talk about the rights of the citizens, people are being arrested arbitrarily just because somebody feels like they have enough power, violating the rights of the citizens. Go to Africa today and visit a lot of these jails. People's rights are being violated across the continent. Why? For nothing. Sometimes people are locked up in jails for not even committing a crime.
No, absolutely.
Not even found guilty.
Not even found guilty.
Not even taken to court.
Not even taken to court. You know, but even the court system, what court system?
But again, what the court system? A lot of these judges are very corrupt. You have few judges that are actually, you know, very much, they stand, you know, uphold the law. But these are all the rights of the people being violated.
And we blame all these issues, you know, on colonialism, on a lot of issues. Nevertheless, you know, there is always a past that has some effect on the present and the future. But, you know, the way the world is moving, you know, we have to look at the way the world is moving. You know, we have to look at opportunities. We have to look at how can we improve, you know, the civil right of the people.
Absolutely.
You know, not only during the election season. You know, not only when it's election, we go and bribe them, you know, to buy their minds and their consciences. You know, then, you know, when we buy their mind and their consciences, then now we live our life. You know, we help our children, we help our friends. You know, then when it comes back to the next election season
4 years
again,
later, they see us
then
again.
we use the resources, that is the right of the people. You know, we use those things, you know, to bribe them.
Absolutely.
You know, and some of us don't understand, you know, the negative effect of bribery. I lived in Japan, right? I spent 2 years in Japan. The Japanese, I love those people. When I lived there, you know, I understood what was ethics. They don't take tips. My brother, they don't take tips. The people are disciplined. You know, Africa, we have good cultural values. But we have perverted these values. You know, we have perverted these values. Because, you know, we don't plan. Because the thing that is killing Africans a lot, we don't plan. You know, we don't look at situations and plan. You know, we only respond. And sometimes when we are responding, you know, we guessed. Anytime you respond without planning, you guessed. It's an educated guess. You know, and how if you are knowledgeable, you call it an educated guess. But if you are not knowledgeable, sometimes most of your guess is foolishness.
Absolutely.
But you have to purposely plan, understand what civil right is, you know, guide the people. And it starts from bottom up. You know, from bottom up. Although now Africa doesn't have a bottom up, you know, because, you know, it's top down, which is a bad way of governance. You know, because anytime there's a top down, you know, it's always intimidation. It's like you're dropping a stone from up, it falls.
Absolutely.
It's always intimidation. So one of the things that we are driving when it comes to civil rights, we're trying to build that base, you know, that bottom up. So that the people have a say in whatever happens.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't only want to be fed, but you have to be knowing that if you are feeding me today, how do I feed my child? You know, it's better to teach somebody how to fish than to give the person a fish.
Absolutely.
You know, that is an old saying. You know, but when it comes to Africa, it's very meaningful. You know, when you look at that saying, it's meaningful.
It is.
It is.
You know, you mentioned very few good points there. You know, talking about money and bribing people, I always bring this quote up when Professor Lumumba actually said the time he contested for a member of parliament, he went to his constituency, campaigned, spoke to the people, talked, gave them all these brilliant ideas. And the guy who he was campaigning against came a week to election and just brought a bag of money and started sharing to the people. And Professor Lumumba lost the elections. But that is the problem in Africa. You see, because what these African leaders do, it is a deliberate attempt, again, to let the people not even know their democratic rights.
Right.
You know, because people don't vote on issues in Africa because they kept hungry, they are kept starving. You know, so and instead, the thing is, instead of African people rising up to say, you know what, we're tired, just like Nigerians did. Because you look at what we see on YouTube, we see all these warehouses with food.
Yes.
Thousands of bags of rice and all other food supplies. And this government, for some reason, kept those food away from the people, whilst prices are out there hiking. You know, so Nigeria was a very good case. Unfortunately, it looks like the whole thing was hijacked because, again, the government strategically planned to bring these thugs in that, infiltrated the whole thing and make it seem like it's being a riot and looks like it's confusion. And now, the whole thing is like, it's dissipating, it's dying, and we feel so bad because Nigeria is the giant of Africa, and we were hoping this was going to mean some serious change for Nigeria. But again, that is an example of people knowing their rights. But when we look at this thing, I say, okay, Nigeria, you're talking about over 200 million people, almost 200 million people of the population, right? But how many people actually came out to protest? Not more than 2 million people.
Not more than 2 million people, because, they have made people to think that, those things is not going to help. It doesn't matter. Like, in Cameroon, something happened last week in Cameroon where somebody went to a school, an elementary school, and murdered people.
Wow.
My heart was breaking because I was an elementary teacher. The first job I did, I thought I was a teacher. I taught for some years. I taught elementary school. I love kids. I learned a lot of values. I learned a value because kids are a gift from God. So my heart was really broken when I heard about the incident. When I heard about the incident of someone entering a school in Africa, in a quiet neighborhood where people are struggling, and murdered children, and murdered children. And then the government, even the government that has to protect the people, put the blame on others. The government, I don't know who caused it. For now, I don't know who caused it because, everybody is putting the blame. But from what I'm hearing, people are saying that, those things were perpetrated by the government. But who is the government? Who is the government? Because those things are perpetrated by individuals. They are perpetrated by individuals. That is why, we have to start holding individuals, accountable. Because even if you are a government official, the government is not a place. The government is a people. It's human.
Absolutely.
It's John Peter that committed the offense. And that is what is happening. When it happened in America, it's abuse of power. You are treated, as an individual. Because no rule of the government asks you to violate right. No military rule, asks you, to kill an innocent civilian, or to go to a school and murder people.
No way.
I don't think any government, propagate that. I know there are terrorist government that propagate that, but I don't believe that, any genuine government, would do that.
Absolutely.
So it was very, very pathetic.
It
was very sad. And it happened all over Africa.
Yeah.
It happened all over Africa.
Every time we lose lives like that, like we had typical examples of the same thing, the government, murdering its people in Sierra Leone because of a generator.
Absolutely.
The people protested against the generator and they murdered them. But listen, guys, so what we're going to leave with you all is this. I think that because every time we have to, profile, solutions to what the problems that we have. What we really want to say is this. I think it is incumbent on us, especially those of us in the diaspora, like what we're doing, to educate. So every time members of the diaspora, you have an opportunity, and those of you that are in Africa that are educated, that are, know exactly what it is to educate our people. I know it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take serious leadership because sometimes, even though we say bottom top, but we believe it's an avalanche.
It's an avalanche.
From the top.
Absolutely.
The leaders of countries should be the ones that are really willing to effect the changes that are people. The rights of Africans should be upheld. I think that is the most important thing we want to leave with you guys. And it's about time we all have copies of our constitution. And if anything, for every one of us that are in Africa, I want you people to understand that there's two things in the constitution that you should all hold with, hold it like a egg, like a raw egg that if you drop it, it's going to smash and crack open and just mess up the whole place. Your freedoms of speech and your rights to protest. Those two is enshrined in every African or every country's constitution. And we've seen that people, across the world that have actually used those rights to protest, to speak up freely, have actually attained goals. You know, when you take Kazakhstan, you take Mali, you know, you take these countries where changes have actually been effected because the people spoke up. Because democracy, you can remember, is the power of the people, for the people, and by the people. And when the people stand up, because the people are the ones that gave you the sovereignty of any country, when leaders know that the people are woke and they are ready to stand up and uphold their rights, their God-given rights. Not only, we have to treat ourselves like human beings. Forget the Constitution. Let us just treat ourselves like human beings for once. Let us treat ourselves like black people, like, you know, like we are sober-headed. So the rest of the world will treat us with respect. Absolutely. Because when you look at what happened to George Floyd and all these black folks, you have first ladies in Africa. You have leaders in Africa that are sending condolences to, you know, America for George Floyd. But yet alone, they're the ones killing their own people back home in Africa in their respective countries. So it is the double standard and level of hypocrisy that is too much. But we have to treat ourselves better, give ourselves our rights, respect the rights of the citizens, and that way we can move forward. But again, guys, go and subscribe to our channel, Ibrahim's Take on Africa. Like I said, you know, we're winning you guys into YouTube, that world of YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment. All right, because we're going to be going live on our YouTube. The next time I'm going live, it might be on my YouTube page. You know, we're winning you guys. So if you're following me on Facebook, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to share my YouTube channel link on this video. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Thank you, guys.
So thank you, guys. It's a pleasure, you know, to have Ibrahim, you know, on this show. So, you know, we have a big agenda. So we are planning that within the next 5 years, we'll be able to dish out at least 1,000 scholarships. You know, because we will do our own part. You know, because we will not only be talking, you know, with the word of mouth, you know, we'll be doing our own part. So we are planning to support institutions that will protect the right of people, you know, that will encourage civil right of people and encourage democratic processes. We'll support those type of institutions. I will give a lot of scholarships. Absolutely. You know, we're hoping that within 5 years, we can be able to dish out 1,000 scholarships, you know, out. You know, to encourage youth, you know, to encourage grassroots movements.
That's the vision.
You know, that's the vision. That's the vision.
It's not that we have to, but yeah.
That's the vision. We have a big vision. You know, we have a big vision. And that is why, you know, we don't go to sleep. We don't go to sleep. I don't go to sleep. You know, I don't go to sleep. Every day I'm looking at the next move. So thank you for watching, for watching us. Share the video, you know, like it. And we'll have an email box that, you know, in the future that you can connect with us. We'll have website. Yeah. You know, we just started. You know, we are just starting, but we're going to get there. But thank you.
Get there.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Until next time.
Until next time. Friday. See you on Friday.
All right.
In the crossfire, it's caught in the crossfire.